How much is this worth? I mean, I know it's a $10 bill, but really, how much is this worth? What's the value of it? How much would you pay for it? That's kind of an odd question to ask. When we look at money, we don't think of prices being paid for money, but there is a sense of value associated with money. And just like anything that has value, that value is primarily determined by a market. There is indeed a market for money, where demand and supply intersect to set the value of those pieces of paper that you carry in your pocket. So where does that come from? Well, the demand for money is rather simple. We demand money to buy things. We demand money to a smaller extent for saving purposes, and we want to save for a rainy day or whatever. But for the most part, we demand money in order to engage in trade, to engage in transactions. The supply of money is almost equally simple. The supply of money comes from the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank of the United States, or the Fed, sets the dollar amount that they want to have in circulation. They set the quantity of money that they want to have in circulation. When you intersect those two things, you have a demand and supply, which gives you an equilibrium and consequently an equilibrium value for money. Now, that's a weird concept, but it also has a flip side to it. If we were to put this into a graph, our demand curve would be our normal looking downward sloping demand curve. Our supply curve is a little bit different, however, because the Fed wants to fix that supply of money so that they're in control of it. The supply curve is going to be a vertical line. Where those two lines intersect, we find the value of money. Now, what's interesting about this particular market is that the value of money has a reciprocal value. In other words, the value of money, if we take 1 divided by the value of money, that number is quite important. That number is referred to as the price level. We're going to put the price level over here on the right-hand side of our graph. So on the left-hand side, we have the value of money, and it runs up. It runs in the same direction we're used to seeing. It's 0 at the origin of the graph, and as we go up the graph, up the axis, the value of money goes up. The price level, however, runs in the opposite direction. At what we would think would be low levels, that's actually a high price level. Because as the value of money goes down, the price level, the prices you have to pay, go up. And as we move up the axis, the price level is actually falling. It goes in the opposite direction because it's the reciprocal of the value of money. Let's take a look at a more concrete example. Let's say that the Fed engages in some monetary policy changes. They decide to, let's say, ease monetary policy so that it's sometimes referred to as a loose monetary policy, where the money supply increases. Well, in our graph, what we're going to see is that the supply of money shifts to the right. If we follow that supply curve and find where the new equilibrium point is, we'll see that there's a greater quantity of money, but we also see that the value of money has fallen. That's what's going on the y-axis. But we also see, because it's the reciprocal, the price level rising, which simply means inflation. So, what we can conclude from this is that if the supply of money changes, it's going to alter the value of your dollar. If the supply of money increases, assuming money demand stays relatively the same, then the value of money is going to fall and the price level is going to rise, which is inflation. If the supply of money decreases, in other words, if the Fed engages in monetary tightening, then we'll see the value of your dollar go up, and we'll see the price levels go down, which is deflation. When the Fed changes the money supply, they affect the economy in a lot of different ways. This is probably the simplest and most straightforward. They alter the value of the dollar and they change the price level.